we'll move into the Arkells real quick. Even though we've talked about them a lot, and you did mention that, you know, you wouldn't be where you are today without them. Can you share the story? So I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I've heard. This is the lore when it comes to you and the Arkells, is that you were like this 19-year-old kid. You show up at, I don't know, an Arkells show or anyway, somewhere where their drummer Tim was, and you presented him with, I don't know, a snare or a drum kit.
Yeah.
And apparently he's never played any other drums but yours since then. Can you say if this is true or not, and if you can give details into that story?
I think this is like a Max thing from just like him saying it on stage a couple of times, where I think the story's kind of gotten twisted. So here is what actually happened.
I don't know if we should like demystify this, because this is like, you know, this is like a legendary story.
You know, it's funny when Max did his whole spiel last week. You know, I when Tim's playing, I sit basically right behind him. That's kind of where I build my tech world. And Tim like looks down at me. He's like, "This isn't the story." He's like looking down. He's like, I don't know where he's getting this. This isn't the right story. So I will set the record straight here. It's a bit of a lengthy story. It's a bit of a lengthy story, but we'll try and keep it as short as possible. So I just flunked out of recording college, quit my day job, started building drums for fun. At this point, I built like maybe 2 or 3 snare drums, and I built a drum kit for my buddy Matt. So what I would do just to like get by was I would just pick up odd jobs. My buddy Albert called me. Now for the Ottawa hardcore kids, punk kids, you know Albert as the pit boss. He was the guy that stood in the mosh pit, the security guard in the mosh pit when we were at hardcore shows and punk shows. Just to paint a picture, Albert ran a security company, and he called me one day and was like, "Hey, Jordo, like I'm short a couple of people tonight for this Ottawa Youth Frosh Week thing." He's like, "I know you don't have your security license." He's like, "Do you want to like make some quick cash?" He's like, "I just need you to open and close the gate for the crowd surfers. So when the kids go up and crowd surf and the security guards catch them, you just open the gate to let them back into the crowd. You don't need a security license to do that." And it was like, you know, it's like 3 hours of work. I think I got paid $50. And I was like, "Yeah, man." I'm like, "I'm down." Like, you know, I did a bunch of different stuff, all legal, but I did a bunch of different odd jobs to kind of basically fund the drum company and stay afloat while doing it. And I was like, "Okay, well," I'm like, "So yeah, you know, just be down here. Like, doors are at 7, show start today. Just be here by 8." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I'm like, "Who's playing?" He's like, "This band Arkells." And I was like, "Dude, I love Arkells. Like, I think they're an awesome band." The New Year's before, me and my buddies went and saw them on Spark Street. They played on Spark Street for New Year's Eve, and saw them at Blues Fest a couple of summers before that. I'm in. So I took the city bus downtown, worked the show. And then after the show, I was just waiting to get my pay. And I saw Tim, the drummer, walking around, and I was waiting to get paid. And I went up to him, sparked a conversation. I was like, "Hey man, really like your Gretsch drum set." And he looked at me, he was like, "How do you know it's a Gretsch kit?" He's like, "There's no logo on the front bass drum head. Like, I just have like a plain white bass drum head on the front." And I was like, "Oh, I can just tell by like the lugs and like the badge." And he's like, "Oh, you're a nerd." I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm a gear nerd. I actually build drums myself." And he was like, "Oh, you do?" He's like, "That's cool." He's like, "Well, like, you know, maybe next time we're in Ottawa, like bring me some drums to try." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, for sure. Like, you want to exchange phone numbers?" And this is like, you know, this is the kind of guy that Tim is. Like, I just sparked a conversation. We're exchanging phone numbers. You know, like, you don't know who I could be totally bluffing. And you just give me your phone number. So gave him his phone number, you know, basically, you know, texted that night. I was like, "Hey man, it's Jordo, great to meet you. Like, you know, let me know next time you're in Ottawa." And then about a week later, I was like, "Hey man, my band's coming to play in Toronto. Like, do you want to come check us out? Like, we're playing Sneaky D's or something." And he was like, "Nah, man." He's like, "I can't make it outside." But he's like, "Are you in Toronto right now?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're like crashing at my buddy's place at Parkdale. It's like 9 a.m. in the morning." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you want to go get breakfast?" and he came and picked me up. We went for breakfast. And then, just became friends from there. And then basically, this is kind of the turning point. Is maybe a couple weeks later, I was like sitting at home one day and I was like, oh, I wonder like what Arkells is up to like for shows. And I went on their Facebook page and they had one show and it was the weekend coming up. It was at Guelph University. And I texted him. I was like, hey man, like it says here you guys are playing Guelph on Friday. He goes, yeah, yeah. I was like, if I drove down and brought a drum kit, and, like picked you up and drove you to the show, like, would you play my drums? Like, could I drum tech for you? He's like, oh no, you don't have to do that, man. Like, just that. I was like, no, like, I want to do that. So that's exactly what I did. I literally took my parents' minivan, drove to Toronto with my buddy Matt YC drum kit because I didn't have a YC kit. Only Matt was the only one who had a drum kit. Picked him up, drove him to the show, helped load in, and then basically drum tech for him. And he dug the drums and was like, yeah, man, like, I'll play your drums. And I mean, I could probably talk for the next 3 hours about the history of Tim Oxford and I and how he's like a brother to me. But that was basically it, man. And I just was hanging around them. Every time they'd come through Ottawa, come near Ottawa, I would drive down, check them out, hang out. And then just got to a point where, they brought me into Drum Tech a record and snowball. Like I said, we can get into all the small details, but that is the story. There's no Ottawa Blues Fest. I didn't just randomly bring a drum set. That's the story.
And I'm sticking to it.